Hey everyone, Lazy Panda here. Now, you're probably wondering how we got here. Well, I don't know. Here's the thing. You probably don't even know what we're doing, but I'm about to tell you what we're doing exactly. You see those games? You see those games in order down there? Oh yeah, we're ranking those games. If you don't know how to read, that's what we're doing in this video specifically. And if that's not clear to you, I'll tell you exactly that is going to be like. If you guys don't know how tier lists work, this is how they work. You look through the items. For example, we're going to be doing God of War games. We look at it, for example, Ascension. So if we think it's, fantastic, great, 10 out of 10, we would put it to God. Now say 8 to 9, we'd say it's Titan, which is still really good but not perfect. Go to Spartan, it's like, it's okay. It's a decent game. It's all right. Moral's like, it's whatever, it's and then Death is like, it's terrible, it's completely bad, it's trash, should be thrown out, should have never been made, pretty much, and that's why it's called Death. And just a fair warning now, I didn't make this tier list. It was made by Loose Thoughts OG, so if you guys want to go and give him a follow on Twitter, that would be great. I didn't play Chains of Olympus or Ghost of Sparta just yet, so that will have to be at a different time, at a different place. But for now, I have played Ascension 1, 2, 3, 2018, and Ragnarok. So those ones we're going to focus on. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Now, starting off with Ascension, I didn't really find myself too interested. When I look at Ascension, I'm like, it was okay. It wasn't bad. It's just there wasn't much to it. Like, instead of like cool abilities, it was just different weapons. And whenever you killed the enemies, you could use their weapons for, however long you want to, but that was about it. Like, there wasn't much character to the story either. Don't get me wrong, if you're like into God of War and you really want to know about like Kratos' backstory and everything, it's a good story, but the gameplay is just, it's not up there. Especially after something like God of War 3. God of War 3 was, we'll talk more about God of War 3 later, but what I'm saying is the expectation for Ascension then after God of War 3, it felt like we just fell down. We were up here, then we declined. We declined so much. Like, it felt like we didn't really get anywhere with what it was. And the multiplayer. Now, I know people are gonna start talking about the multiplayer and say it was bad, it was whatever. I didn't really get to play it, but from what I saw, it didn't look good. It didn't look that interesting. You played as random Spartans or champions, whatever. I don't even know what they were. That's how easy it is to forget about them. And it's kind of funny because when you go into the menu of God of War Ascension, they're like, oh yeah, check out The Last of Us, by the way. Not even the second game, like the first one for like the PlayStation 3. Because that's where God of War Ascension was as well, which is pretty interesting. So for now, I'd say Death. I know, we're starting off with a big one right here. I know this one's looking a little threatening, the fact that I put the first game that we decided to Death. Now, it's not terrible, but I just don't like it. I don't like the game. I think we could have done better, and that's how I feel about God of War Ascension. So you guys are going to just notice that I just moved to Ghost of Sparta and Chains of Olympus. That's only because we're going to be focusing on these 5 main games because those are the ones I'm going to be ranking. So hopefully that makes sense. You're not just like, what just happened to the other games? Now, God of War 1. God of War 1 was good. Don't get me wrong. Is it better than Ascension? Yes, 100%. It is definitely better. Was it forgettable? It kind of was. Like, the most I can remember is the Hydra fight, which is literally the beginning of the game, when you get to Pandora's box and you're killed by Ares, so there's that. And then I remember the last fight, and then when you become the God of War. That's not really much though, compared to how much is already in the game, but I feel like there was so much into it that I just forgot. Like, it was important, don't get me wrong, you need to play the first game to understand what was happening, but compared to like 2 and 3, it blows it right off the water. Like, it wasn't as good. I think it was a little forgettable, it was a little long at times, and I wasn't too invested. So for that, we're just gonna put God of War 1 to Mortal. It's better than Ascension, and it's a good start for the game and for where it was at the time, but as of today, when you compare it to like all the other games, it's gonna be Mortal for me. Now, God of War 2. God of War 2 is my favorite God of War. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why does he like it? Because the story is so cool to me. He really went from being the God of War, and then while you're playing through the beginning of the game, you put all of your godlike powers into a sword called the Blade of Olympus. Just for Zeus to pop out and be like, oh yeah, it's my sword now. You're not going to be the God of War anymore. You know what happens? He kills him. Zeus kills Kratos. And then, literally as he was dying, he was telling Zeus, a choice from the gods is as useless as the gods themselves. Like, I can't make this up. And then you see Zeus literally wipe out all of the Spartan army. There's nobody left except one guy. That's it. There's nobody else there. I felt like God of War 2 was such an upgrade compared to 1. 1 was a good start, but basically it was like God of War 2 took what God of War 1 had and ran with it. It basically just improved and made it so much better than what it already was. But that's not to say it was a perfect game either. God of War 2 was annoying because of its puzzles at times. That didn't make sense to me. I hated the fact that I had to search up videos all the time being like, oh, puzzle to this part in God of War 2. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't understand what was happening at all. I didn't like it. And I felt like the immersion of it broke. But one thing I really liked about it compared to God of War 1 was upgrading the blades of Athena. That was really good. In the first one, you had Blades of Chaos. In this one, you had Blades of Athena because Ares took away the Blades of Chaos originally. I also played these games on hard mode. So for me to complain about some of the fights isn't exactly fair. I do acknowledge that. But here's the thing, fighting the Sisters of Fate, that was really cool. When we went back to God of War 1, when Kratos was fighting Ares, that was really cool. When I thought about the story, it didn't make sense to me sometimes. Why didn't Kratos travel before his powers were taken away? Why did one of the sisters take Kratos with them as she was going to destroy the blade that literally helped Kratos kill Ares? Why did Athena get in the way of him killing Zeus when it doesn't even make sense, because I felt like she already knew that he was still gonna kill him regardless. And that was another thing that I always think about whenever I think about this game. That's kind of funny, is that she basically died for nothing. She died to protect Zeus just for God of War 3 to happen. That's literally the only reason. They did it only for that. Like, it didn't drive the story really anywhere else but to get to a whole new game. But nonetheless, I really enjoyed the story. I think the story was crazy. I think the game was just beautiful overall. So I'm gonna give it Titan. Yeah, I said it. I'm gonna give it Titan. I think Titan is the right position that it should go at. God of War 3. I've played all these games before, but I'm doing a rerun of all the games right now currently. God of War 3 is the one I'm on right now. One thing that I think God of War 2 does better than God of War 3 is its presentation of the story. Now, I know people are going to think that I'm crazy, and I know that's probably a hot take coming from me, but I like the way God of War 2's story presented itself. God of War 3 kind of felt more lengthy a little bit, but don't get it twisted. All the boss fights were awesome. From Poseidon to Hades to Hermes. Well, Hermes didn't really fight that much, but you get it. Apollo, and even the man Zeus himself. Zeus is a long battle, but a really good battle, I gotta say. The thing that carried God of War 3 wasn't the abilities, I think, but it was the weapons. Like, when Kratos receives those lion gauntlets that he got from Hercules, it was a whole game changer. Like, I was beating people up left and right, just... Like, you didn't see me doing that in God of War 2. You didn't see me doing that in God of War 1 or Ascension. When are you gonna see that again? You don't. don't. But where the technical parts of God of War 3 comes in and carries, I felt like that was God of War 2's story. So for now, I'm gonna say that God of War 3 is also Titan, but I don't think it's God. I don't think it's perfect, because the thing I forgot to mention is that all of these games have a running theme besides Ascension. These 3 games sometimes are super buggy and super like specific. Basically, when like you jump to a railing or you jump to a ledge, sometimes it won't register and you will die. Or like when I'm literally being chased by a flame that's coming up behind me, like in God of War 3 when I had to climb up and chase Hermes, Kratos was stuck on something and I don't know what he was stuck on, but he just dies. He just dies. So basically it's like wasting my time on these little bugs that happen. And God of War 3 has these little bugs. Like for example, when you go inside Gaia for the first time, it looks like, you know, that glitch effect that there is on like video edits and such. It looked like that, but on like one of the roots of Gaia, there was like a black and white thing happening on another part of Gaia. It was almost breaking the immersion. I was like, okay, that's weird. Thing is, I don't believe that happened in the regular version. I think that only happened in the remastered version. But yes, that's where I'm gonna settle God of War 3. God of War 3 is in Titan. Now the one I feel like people were waiting for, God of War 2018. God of War 2018 was beautiful. It was out of this world. It blew everything out of the way. It was unique. The storyline was so pretty. There were so many elements to it that I couldn't even describe to begin with. While Kratos is this Spartan guy who was this fallen god of war, he has to learn how to be a father. And if you know the story, he literally lost his daughter to his own hand. Now he has to raise this kid who is his son, named Atreus. And the story is so compelling and so like, it hooks you up immediately. Just from the way it's like, it's not too slow, but it really takes its time to expand on an important event where like Kratos and Atreus are talking, and it really hones in on that. It's not like a quick 3-second conversation. They really like to show either the growth or the downfall of their relationship in the current event. In this one, basically what they're doing is that they had to travel to the highest mountain, and Kratos and Atreus had to spread out the ashes of Faye, Atreus' mother and Kratos' wife. And it was really crazy, because I mean, in the middle of this, Atreus figures out that he's a demigod, like his name is Loki and everything. And then the way he talks to Sindri after figuring that out, talking about how he's sick of little problems for little people. I know what you're thinking, Sindri's not tall, and so that could be taken out of context, sure, but it only makes sense because he wouldn't say that to Sindri. That's not something that Atreus would say. He's compassionate and he's very sensitive as well. He wouldn't go around trying to hurt other people's feelings. But this realization gave him an ego, and you could see that almost take him over for a second. And Atreus is being taught by Kratos like, you can't let this consume you, because you will be no better than the gods themselves. And of course, we all know that Kratos knows that best. But it was such a good game, and it was wonderful, that this game deserves God tier. And now on to the final game that we have up to date, God of War Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok was so fun. I love the fact that you could see Atreus much more as himself, not just Kratos' son. I loved God of War Ragnarok, because the thing about God of War that it didn't have as much as Ragnarok is, even though it tried to display their relationship, it was like, it didn't show the amount of growth that Ragnarok has, because I feel like they were really saving that for Ragnarok rather than 2018. Like in Ragnarok, Atreus is becoming an adult. He's becoming his own person, and he's trying to figure himself out with the reputation of Kratos. And sometimes that gets to him, and not having his trust to be able to do what he wants sometimes gets to him, and you can see that. Like, Kratos won't let Atreus do what he wants willingly. It's always what Kratos wants because it's the safest option. But Atreus is curious. He has things that he's asking. He needs things to be answered. He's not gonna sit around and wonder forever. And that's what we get in this game. And then you see the effects of 2018 coming to Ragnarok. It was so cool. And the ending, man. That ending is just crazy. The fact that now Atreus decided to go. Every scene was beautiful. Like, there was a parallel so much in these games from 2018 to Ragnarok. Like when Kratos apologized to Atreus, and Atreus says, "Don't be sorry, be better." Kratos said those same exact words to Atreus in 2018. And one of the things that almost like caught me teary-eyed was when he said, Loki goes, but Atreus stays. That's a work of art. That was a work of art. And the other characters in it, like Brock, Sindri, Freya, all of these other characters gave it so much life, gave it such an atmosphere. The world wasn't quiet, the world was awake. And that's what we got through all of the realms. I really have nothing bad to say about it. I'd say my favorite part about Ragnarok isn't the fact that we just saw Atreus grow, but we see Kratos go from being so angry and, have all this anger against all of these gods and wanting to murder and kill anything that he sees in sight, to now finally becoming the father he wanted to be originally with Calliope. And that's why God of War Ragnarok is the first on the God tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making this. My face is very itchy from this mask. I've grown up with God of War since I was very young, and to see it grow as I grow, basically it has a personal place in my heart, and I won't forget that. I hope you guys enjoy this one. See ya.